Hi, I'm Todd Kamesha, a service tech here at Hutton Oily Sales in Merredin. Today we have a Pro 1200 in a 715 Steiger. I just want to show up the setup and basic layout of the display. So on the display across the top, the first place we'll go looks like a picture of a silo and trees. This is basically where we set up our grower, farm and fields. So obviously this machine already has some info in it, but if we want to create a new one, the drop down box, add new. Then we can then type in our farm name, the grower's name, push apply. And then obviously a lot of growers these days have multiple farms. So again, we can just hit the drop down box, add a new farm in there, and then apply. And then after that, we can then obviously enter our field names. Once those three things have been done, a task will be generated. If you have boundaries and fields already on the display, it will populate in this area here. And then you can also have the ability to select auto detect. So once you drive in that boundary, it will automatically detect that field and load the run lines for you. As we scroll down, we have what implement we've selected for the operation to be done today. Has a configuration which does all your EHR values if you've saved them previously. Next on the tabs, we've got pretty much our main toolbox page. So across the top we have our settings, diagnostic and productivity reports. So the main one is pretty much for our implement. So we create an implement. So there's already one in here. If you want to create a new one, we select add new. So implement name. Enter that. Then we can select the operation. So if it's a tillage, baling, cart hauling, mowing, or other. Occasion tillage. Implement type. What is it doing? And then we have a make. If it's not in there, you can then just add your own, if need be. And model number as well. And save. So once the implement's been saved, we then need to come across to our measurements and enter accurately all our measurements. If you have any issues wondering exactly what it means, there's a little question mark and it tells you exactly where to measure from on the vehicle and enter the values. If it was an ISO machine, you may also have application control with controllers for additional setup. Once our implement is made, the next one's our vehicle implement configuration. So this is where we can set up how we're going to log our coverage. Hit the drop down box. So there's a lot of different varieties. Most commonly people use the EHR. So in the retract position, we'll start coverage logging, and then in the extend position, we'll disable the logging. We have the ability to have and or. So the difference being and means you have both of these situations happening at the same time to start logging, or you can have either the VHR or when you've got your guidance engaged, for example. And then we'd hit or. And then finally down the bottom, we can select what speed source we want to prioritize. So you can just drag them down into the position you want. So the speed source priority. Let's set all that up. We've got our work condition, and as a general, it'll be in a auto config that you've already made up previously. Also in this page, we have our tractor icon. So for those who use the Pro 700, pretty much our toolbox menu. So just give you a serial number, what configuration you're in at the moment. If we open our admin settings, we now have our economy mode. We also have the ability to disable shuttle shift, which is handy on seaters, so you can't accidentally put it in reverse or transporting down the road, and select our startup gear. As we come down, we have settings, so we've got our HVAC, we can do our light setup for memory 1, memory 2. We have our configurable buttons, so we can change where the levers are in relation to the remotes and physically at the back. If we hit the drop down box, we then also have our multi-function handles, so we can select additional 2 remotes to be done via the multi-function handle. If you want to change it, just hit the drop down box and just select one of the EHRs you want to use on the handle. And then finally we have our buttons. So on our multifunction handle we have 5, 6, 7, 8, and down here we have 1 to 4 that you can customize to what you want. So to do that, we just hit button 1, hit the gear, and there's a huge list that you can select from. So whether it be answer or end a call, we can change our current RPM for the engine, 1 or 2. We can toggle between them. Yeah, anything electronic, you can pretty much go through this list and assign to one of those buttons. We've got our hydraulic set up, so we can set our flow rates, enable timers, disable timers, as well as motor mode. Again, once you're in here, hit the drop down box. So yeah, extend flow rates, retract flow rates. Our 2 timers, you can turn our timer on or off. And then with motor mode, it also has a question mark explaining how to enter motor mode. Next we have our headland management control. So this is where we can record a sequence, i.e. lifting the bar out of the ground, changing down gears, that you'd normally do. You can record that electronically, and then same as going back into the field, and then you can then use the button down here to play that whilst in the field. Just have some basic engine control, so our auto RPM 1 and 2, engine brake, and our decelerator rate. Next we have our transmission, so basically selecting our startup gears for forward and reverse in our APM modes. And then you have a load anticipation, so just adjustability. Next we have steering, so pretty much in field mode you can have a slow, medium and fast response, so going from 3 turns lock to lock to 5.5 or 6 turns lock to lock. Just basically a customer preference. As we scroll down the list, next we have our diff lock. So just have a couple of options, so pretty much how much steering angle we have before it will disengage our diff lock or engage, and then when we turn the key on, whether it was in auto, last known whether they were locked or not locked, or locked on. PDO, we just have two auto or heavy engagement, and then finally our ISO bus, so if you had third-party steering or application control. Then down the bottom left we have our GNSS. So the main one's in here, so if you're using RTK, turn it on, or if you're just using a satellite subscription, is our AFS. So this is where we turn it on, we have an expiry date, and you can check the status through here. If we're putting a GPS out to another screen, we have our output position. This is where we can select from different ports depending on where we put our harness into the machine, and then set up our baud rate and protocols as required. Also in our guidance, we have our AccuGuide system, so we can do some tuning for it online, swath acquisition, set max steering angles up depending on implements being towed, and our active swath point. If you do have AccuTurn unlocked, you also have an AccuTurn tab down here, and just gives you some warnings of why you can't turn, or just bits of information. Then down here, we have different turn types. Planned speed would be auto or manual, which direction we're travelling, and we can also put in a offset so we can turn early or late. As we go across the top list again, we have a general page full of information. So all your hydraulic temps, transmission temperatures, engine temps, just a handy thing. It's also a quick way to get your engine hours from your vehicle. If it's a sprayer or a header, it would also have rotor/spraying hours in it. This page is not configurable, but yeah, just a good quick way to get some information if needed. Across the top, we've got a picture of a little man, right hand corner. So this is where the owner can lock out workers if they don't want to push too many buttons. They can also edit system settings, so time, date, what sort of units they want to use, and see some controller status. In the middle, where the time is, there's a camera. If we push and hold this for a second, you hear a little audible noise. We can then hit our 9 boxes and go to our gallery, and we can just see the screenshot that we just took. So if you're having issues on the screen, it's handy to remember that you can always take a screenshot when the fault's occurring, and then export this to a USB and send it to your local dealer. Up the top we have a question mark. So this is usually where you'll find a digital copy of your operator's manuals, which is quite handy, and quick reference cards. You also have a search function as well, and you type in a word and it'll bring up all the pages that word is mentioned on. Just following across the top, so back to our 9 boxes again. So our multimedia page, our application page. So we have a gallery where we've saved our screenshots. If you have your phone connected, we can access our phone. We can also change radio settings via the display. So yeah, anything you can do whilst touching the physical radio, you can also do through the screen. And then as we come across to our remote assist, so when you get the machine, you have an account created, and you can assign a dealer. So if you have any issues in the field, you can ring your dealer up, activate a session. It'll give you a 4-digit or 5-digit code. You give that to your dealer. They can then log in and access your screen over the air. It's good for diagnostics when you're a long distance from the workshop. And then update manager, so if any files have been sent over the air to update software, this is where you'd come and then install it at a later date. Across the top, we've got our Wi-Fi and cellular network. So just the broadcaster, the signal strength, whether you've got your Wi-Fi turned on or off, and then you have some quick menus to the settings and a diagnostic tab. Next, across the top of the screen, we have a satellite. So this gives you your accuracy level. Up the top here will tell you if you need to drive to maintain a heading, and just a good status page. Next tab across is our sky plot, so we can see what satellites are in view, what's being used, and yeah, it's just another information page. And then next tab across, position, so we can get our longitude, latitude, and heading if we need to send that to other people in the field so they're on the same run lines. Again, we have a quick tab to the settings and our diagnostics. And finally, across the top, on the left-hand side, would have any faults or warnings active on the machine or inactive. You can come and view them here. When you do the drop down, we'll usually give you additional information surrounding that fault. And then we also have the ability to clear the faults. With our run pages, so down the bottom, we've got our 7 tabs. So to adjust any run page or name, we simply push and hold the tab for a couple of seconds. Ask you, would you like to edit the screen? Say yes. So now we have the ability to customize our run pages. So if we do not want this anymore, just hit the trash can. We can then hit the plus arrow and find what we want to go back on that page. So for instance, put this one back in. We can name the tabs down the bottom. So we've got guide, guide 2, engine, hydraulic. And to do that, we just simply, once we're in this page, just double tap the run page we want to change, and then we can change the name and hit apply. Down the bottom here, we can make a duplicate of the screen for whatever reason. There are also a generic and pre-planned screens on the Pro 1200. So we've got generic planning, seating, air cut and spraying screen, and then you can modify it from then if need be. You can also delete a current run page layout if need be. If you have purchased a machine and you wish to get rid of all the old data on the machine, we hit our up arrow 7 boxes and then data. And the quickest and easiest way is if you just touch the top tab, you see how many files are there, and then we can delete those files. Same as implements, we can delete the implements that are stored in the screen, so then we can then create our own and start again from fresh.